cocktail. Welcome to Oops All Dragons. It's not, there's nothing to do with cocktails here. But I'm Lisa.
I'm Varun.
And we've got a guest episode for you today. I don't know. I'm trying to do vuvuzelas. It's,
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Just...
Not every intro is a winner. But it's the one that we have, okay? Not every day is good, but you still have to be grateful for every day you have.
Sure. So our guest today is a player DM from my local gaming store, Flynn's Arcade. We're
friend of the pod.
Just overall friend of the podcast. If you're in Margate Boulevard, Margate in South Florida, give them a look. They're the best.
They're kind of the reason this podcast started, because it was our little lecture that we did there that we were like,
I should share that video.
We should do this.
Yeah.
It's, if you go on our Patreon, patreon.com/oopsalldragons, and join our Patreon, and then join our Discord, that video, I mean, granted, you can find it if you look for it, but it's much easier to find it by giving me $5 and going into our Discord, and we have it pinned in there.
We have folks actually joining in now. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But we keep running over him. So our guest today, player and DM, Matt the Cat from Flynn's Arcade. What's up, Matt?
Hello. Happy to speak with both of you.
Wow, do you see how you always yell at me for not doing the Patreon plug, and then I do the Patreon plug, and
do
I'm
it
still
at the
wrong.
end! After we've introduced the guest!
Gotta keep him guessing.
Alright. But yes.
$5 a month, not just like $1.
At this point, I will take $1, but 5 is preferred.
She'll take the $5 one-time donation too. Like, that's also good.
Yeah. It's a little coffee. Keep me awake.
Alright, but
Starbucks addiction.
But yes, Matt is a very, very, as we found out, seasoned player of D&D and RPGs in general, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. But before we do that, as we always want to do, Lisa, what have you been up to in the meantime outside of the D&D world?
Oh man, I've been watching movies, enjoying media, going places, speaking to
Any
people.
specifics?
Movies I've watched recently. I've watched The Menu, I've watched Glass Onion, Triangle of Sadness. I think we talked about Triangle of Sadness on the last one. I still need to watch Bones and All. I feel like there was another one that I watched recently that I just simply cannot recall.
Oh, you're just
Tar.
Tar. You mentioned Tar.
But we talked about Tar. Yeah.
How was The Menu? I've heard interesting things about it.
Okay, what have you heard about it?
I've heard some people like it. I've heard some people hate it because it's overly pretentious.
Oh, well, yeah, it's a Searchlight movie. Like,
isn't it done by Adam McKay?
Yeah, it's a pretentious movie. Like, of course it is. That's kind of the point. Like, the restaurant that they go to, it's like the whole thing is just very pretentious. It's like, yes, it's pretentious. Like, it knows it's pretentious. The point of it is that it is pretentious because the subject, like the characters, like, it's poking fun at pretension. It is reaching into pretension and going, this is all dumb.
I think the main criticism I've heard from the side of not particularly liking it is it's pretentious about its satire about pretension, because it doesn't do anything particularly new with the formula, showing that, hey, there's bad on both sides of, the high-minded and the well-to-do and the not, but also the person in the middle is you, the POV character who knows better and is unaffected by these sort of things. Kind of straight down the middle kind of satire of this nature.
Yeah, I can totally see where an argument can be made where it feels like it's trying to say something very haughty, but like it doesn't end up actually saying anything. It just points at something that
Mm-hmm.
it points at something, but it says nothing about the thing that it's pointing to. And I don't think I can disagree with that, but I still like the movie anyways.
Mm-hmm. I've seen bits of it.
I still think it was, there's a very good flow of tension, of tone. It's just like a really quality piece of filmmaking too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was a good time. I had a good time. It was fun. It made me very hungry. I went and got a burger afterwards.
You were entertained.
Yeah, I was entertained.
Okay.
It was
That's all that
because
matters.
I feel like the thing that like for so long was the reason I went a really long time without literally watching a movie is because I was so scared of like I had such precious little spare time. I had like no free time when I was working like 60 hours a week. That like the thought of spending 2 to 3 hours, because let's be honest, hour and a half movies don't exist anymore. The thought of spending 2 to 3 hours watching a movie that I ended up not enjoying.
That's not good.
It was, yeah. So like the menu is one that I really don't regret going and spending time watching.
Sure. Okay. That is beyond messaging and actually having something to say. The parts I have seen of it, at least from a cinematography and from a movie making perspective, look very good. Look pretty
It
entertaining.
made me want to see it, and I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it because like
It's pretty simple, but it like goes places. I feel like between The Menu, Triangle of Sadness, and Glass Onion, you have this interesting trilogy of like movies happening right now where it's like, don't rich people suck? And it's like, well, thank you for telling me this, director and writer and everybody who's making millions of dollars. Like, yeah, rich people do suck. It's like rich people trying to sell you the idea that rich people suck. I'm like, shut up. Like, it's good that you're self-aware, but also, like, shut up.
Yeah.
Glass Onion was fun, though. Glass Onion was really good.
Okay.
Not as good as Knives Out. I think there's something about Knives Out that Glass Onion is missing, but Glass Onion was still, like, another one where, like, I don't regret spending the 2.5 hours.
I have
2 hours.
not seen Knives Out. I know. It's that and Everywhere, Everything, All at Once. I haven't seen that one either, and I just need to.
I haven't seen everything either, but Knives
You're
Out...
missing out. It's really good.
I know.
I know. Everyone says that.
Everyone who's seen it is just like, watch it. What are you doing with your life?
Homework. Yeah. I think it's because that one I really wanted to have seen it in theaters, because I feel like that's one where, like, seeing it with an audience is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something, like, I'm remembering now, because it's been so long since I would, like, consistently went to see movies in theaters that, like, because recently I've actually been going to a movie theater with other, like, human people in the room, having reactions and stuff, like, it, I'm reminded of, like, why we do that, because having other people gasp at the same time as you do, or laugh at the same, it validates something very primal.
It depends. It depends on the movie, though, because the last movie I saw in the theater was Black Adam, and holy shit, did everyone in the theater not care about what was on the screen? They were just like hanging out.
Yeah.
But when I saw, I think I mentioned it before, when I saw A Quiet Place in the theater, and I thought it was going to be awful because it was, this was pre-pandemic, packed theater, Friday night, a bunch of kids in there. I thought, like, and it's a horror movie, so I thought they're just going to be like assing off. But, like, that movie that's so dependent on, like, silence and being quiet, everyone was quiet until the one scene that everyone knows in that movie where things turn sideways when Homegirl steps on that nail, and everyone in the theater just went at the same time. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was my feeling watching Tar. and the ending of that movie, there is this just confused silence when it cuts to black. Like, I heard multiple people go, "What? That was it?
What?
Huh? Is there more?" Like, oh my god, it was intoxicating. I'm like, oh fuck, and you know that's exactly the reaction that was wanted, and it was so good. Just I feed off of the energy of
a good movie-going crowd.
Yes, of confusion. Yeah, no, it's great.
All right, you've been living your best movie life.
Yeah, I'm actually consuming media again. It's great.
Awesome. In a transition, because we're talking about movies, I'm also gonna go see Evangelion 3.0.1 plus 1.0, so the last movie in the series, in theaters, because it's actually showing this week, and nationwide, I believe. It came out on Amazon last year or something like that, or maybe earlier this year. But that's definitely one of those ones where, yeah, you gotta see it on the big screen. Like, this thing was made for the big screen. I've done it with like some of the Gundam movies and stuff too. Like, yeah, you can watch them on DVD, but when you see it in the theater, you're like, oh, this is how this was meant to be seen. Like giant robots in actual scale.
Right.
What was that?
I've seen Akira when it was first released on the big screen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard of Akira. Sorry.
No, I've heard of Akira. Akira in theaters also sounds awesome. That's one of those ones that they always bring back, so I might see it next time I get a chance. But yeah, the last Ava movie in the theater, and then on my side at least, I've been catching up on Doctor Who. As the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who comes along, me and Nova are watching through. I've seen Doctor Who previously, especially the new series. I also went back and watched some classic stuff, so 4th Doctor, 6th Doctor, just kind of jumping around. But then going in order, we went through all of the 9th Doctor with Christopher Eccleston, and then the first part with David Tennant, and now we're on the second part when Martha Jones joins him. So it's interesting because Nova goes on about how much they don't like Doctor Who, but then when Donna Noble shows up, or another character that they have reference for from social media or just through osmosis, they start to like the show. And at least for my side, it's very fun going back to kind of like the modern golden era of Doctor Who. Yeah, it's pretty fun. And then I'm also catching up on some animes. So Bleach: The 1,000-Year Blood War, very fun, much better than the old adaptation anime that they had. Very bloody, very brutal, very cool. And then also Chainsaw Man. Just caught up on Chainsaw Man. Holy crap, Chainsaw Man's one of the best animes just ever. Just from a production standpoint, the animation's amazing. And this is 8 episodes in. Its story's great. The animation's great. Chainsaw Man, huge thumbs up already.
Is that a new release?
Yeah. The manga's been around for a couple years now, I think. But the anime literally just started, 2 months ago. If you have Hulu, check out Chainsaw Man. It is the bomb. So, Matt, what have you been up to?
I work from home remotely still. Usually when the day is done, I like to get out and just hang out with family. So I used to get together with my nephews and we play Smash Brothers. We also do a little bit of karaoke or anything, fun with the kids. And as far as movies and stuff, I have not seen any movies lately, but I have been watching Wednesday on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah!
The first season. And I was going into it not expecting to like it, and came out loving it.
It's a surprisingly fun show, yeah.
Nova and I saw it Wednesday as well. On my side, I don't know if I really liked it, just because like the Addams Family in general is a joke. It's the whole family being creepy and weird in opposition to like societal norms. But that doesn't really work in 2022 when societal norms have shifted so much away. Although I think it still could. But I don't think that's really the focus of the show either. The focus of the show is Wednesday's now like a superhero going to like magic creature Hogwarts.
It's Riverdale.
Yeah, basically.
It got the late season Riverdale treatment.
Yeah, it's a fusion of the Scooby-Doo game, Riverdale, teenage dramas, and Addams Family.
My one big qualm with that whole show is the episode where the whole Addams Family comes to visit because of some shenanigans happening. It still just focuses on Wednesday. Like, it doesn't really, and then a little bit on Morticia and Gomez, but it doesn't really have anything for the rest of the family to do while they're there. So, and that's the core of the thing. Like, when the Addams family's together, they work together, and hijinks are afoot. But like Pugsley doesn't have anything to do in that whole episode. Lurch is literally just driving the car the whole season. Gomez and Morticia are basically there to just exposit and be in flashbacks. That is my big like issue of just like you wasted all these characters that we all know, and you can do so much crazy stuff with, especially in this crazy setting that they've created, and they just like kind of waste that episode.
But
and
what
then
about Uncle Fester?
He has his own episode. Yeah, which is Fred Armisen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Fred Armisen.
Which is such
Fester.
a good... No,
Yeah.
that is such a good casting. It's such a big swing, because I was watching somebody else talk about Wednesday that basically, like, because these characters are so established in our minds, like, you may as well take a big swing, because no matter what you do, there are going to be people that are going to complain, so you may as well take a big swing.
Mm-hmm. Like, Luis Guzman as Gomez is, again, an interesting one, because Gomez has always been kind of portrayed as, like, very high energy, and he's a very low energy dude. So, like, he's still doing the Academia thing, but also, like, just kind of, like, chill. He's around. Fester was good, but yeah, my issue is just, like, when, like you see it in the movies, like, if you watch the movies or the show, when the families gets together, that's the chemistry of like all the weird stuff going on, and like I think they were missing that bit, but the rest of the show is fine. And then beyond that, yeah, Wednesday's basically Archie or whatever from Riverdale at this stage. It's not a bad show. Like, the acting's fine, all of that. I knew Christina Ricci was going to be the bad guy. Spoiler alert. Like, I don't care. I knew she was going to be the bad guy as soon as I saw her. I'm like, she's too normal. She's too normal. She's going to be evil, and normality's the evil in this show.
They caught me by surprise.
Nah,
I was thinking it was the principal.
Nah. Captain
no, they
Phasma,
definitely throw the red herring of Gwendolyn Christie being the big bad.
Because that's always what it is. With the Addams Family, the antagonist, not necessarily the villain, but the antagonist in the Addams Family thing is normality. So the most normal person is usually always, trying to get one over on the Addamses for whatever reason. Right. But yeah, it's an alright show. Like, I don't know if I'll watch the other season. Nova probably will want to, so I guess I will. I just hope if they have the rest of the family in this next season as well, if they have one, do something with that.
It's not
hijinks.
The show's not called The Addams Family. The show's called Wednesday.
I know. So just, if you're not gonna do anything with these very established characters, don't have them in the show, or don't give them any prominence. Like, have Wednesday be the focus, and her werewolf friend, and
they're gonna have to show up because they're her family, and the show's about her.
The whole next season is supposedly not going to be at the school, right? Because the end of the season she goes home.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So
I don't think even the writers know.
Yeah, I don't think they know if they have a second season at this stage. Yeah.
Oh, they're definitely getting a second season. They had essentially
It is Netflix.
The streaming equivalent of a super high box office opening weekend.
True. True.
Yeah, they said something about beating one of Stranger Things records.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll probably get They do set up for a second season. Just if they're gonna have the family in the second season, more hijinks. I think Pugsley and the crew could have worked together with Wednesday to help clear Gomez. Like, Why wasn't the rest of the family trying to make sure their papa didn't go to jail? I don't get that.
We definitely needed more Uncle Fester.
Yeah. Because he kind of disappears halfway through the episode he's in. He just kind of like goes away, and then at the end, yeah, I'll help with the thing, and bye. Yeah, it's all right. Solid, like, at least for me, like 6, 7 out of 10. But like, obviously people like it more. Like, it's fine. Little shade from my side, but other than that, still a good watch.
To learn the actress was in her 20s.
Yeah,
she looks like a 16-year-old girl.
She's got that little kid face. But nah. If you see her in like not the Wednesday getup, you're like, oh, you're an adult.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
That's movie magic,
So I think that's a good little intro to getting into the spooky, scary world.
Speaking of
Vampire the Masquerade.
Speaking of things from the past that are still relevant today, D&D.
Really trying to make that segue. Huh?
Listen. I've never said I'm good at this job.
He said he wanted to start with Vampire the Masquerade. Wednesday.
No.
Okay.
Vampire.
Let's start with Stranger Things.
Okay.
That's
our segue.
Netflix.
Well,
there we go.
Wednesday, Netflix, Stranger Things, D&D. There you go. We did it. We found the connection. But
well, what I wanted to tell you about Stranger Things is that I am the same age as those kids are while that story takes place. I believe they start out in 6th grade, 1983.
83.
Right, and they're 12 years old. Same thing with me. I was 12 years old in 83, and that's right when I started playing D&D as well.
You could have been Will Byers' friend.
You are Will Byers.
Right, yeah. I mean, and I grew up in Chicago, so they weren't too far away from me.
Okay. But yeah, so that's good to know, like your pedigree. You're coming from the OG original days.
That's right, the old school.
So the question that we always begin with is, why are you a nerd? How are you a nerd? How did nerd things come to you? And how did you come to nerd stuff?
Sure.
Yeah.
The first nerd moment was introduced by my father, who was not a nerd, but he liked this one particular show called Star Trek, which it had Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. And he's like, hey, watch the show with me. And I did, and I got hooked. So sci-fi got into my veins. And then I also saw, not too long after that, a cartoon called The Hobbit, which is...
the Ralph Bakshi?
Which I'm sure you're familiar with. What was that?
The Ralph Bakshi one?
Yes. So I was really drawn to fantasy and what was going on with it. And one year when I was in the Boy Scouts, some guys on a camping trip were talking about their D&D game that they were playing. And it sounded pretty interesting to me, so I started asking them various questions. And they said, hey, let's play tonight around the campfire. And I'm like, okay, well, we don't actually have the books or the dice or anything, so how are we going to do that? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just, play a verbal version. And the guy who's going to be the dungeon master, he'll tell us whether we succeed or not in our various challenges. And so it was kind of like a loose version of a regular D&D game. And I just had the time of my life, pretending to be the characters that we were doing and everything. And eventually asked my mother if she would buy me a set of Dungeons and Dragons for Christmas. And Christmas morning, when I opened up my presents, no, I didn't get Dungeons and Dragons. I got some odd role-playing game called Gamma World.
Oh.
Which was a post-apocalyptic science fiction game, which
it's Fallout-esque.
Right. I didn't know that there were other role-playing games other than Dungeons and Dragons, so this was cool. And my friends and I actually had a lot of fun playing it. So I asked my mother, how come you didn't give me Dungeons and Dragons? And she's like, well, your grandparents, they saw this televangelist on TV on the 700 Club. His name was Pat Robertson. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's big time. And he's like, "Oh no, that's a demonic game about devil worship. It introduces your children to the occult and Satan, and don't let your kids get involved with people like that. And they listen to heavy metal music and sacrifice animals."
They have the premarital sex and all of these things.
They're talking about demons and dragons.
Like in the 80s, I'm pretty sure like that's what you wanted the perception to be. yeah, we're doing all the bad stuff and going out and yeah.
People who play
D&D. The cover of the Dungeon
Definitely.
Master's Guide had this big effing demon on the front of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So I had to, but a friend of mine, luckily, his mother did give him a Dungeons and Dragons set. So he's like, "Hey, no problem. Just come over to my house. Set it down low. We're playing Gamble World. If anybody asks, it's Gamble World."
Did your grandparents or your mom, did they ever eventually find out that you were in fact playing the devil game, D&D?
I did let my mom know a couple of years down the road, but my grandparents know. My grandmother, she always used to ask me. She would say, "You're not going to go play one of them demonic games, are you?"
Oh man, what? So
I'd be sarcastic with her and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to draw a big pentagram in the middle of the room and light candles, and we got this cool goat head skull we're going to put in the center." She'd get frustrated at me and walk out the room.
All right. that is interesting because yeah, I've heard many different accounts of folks who've been around during the Satanic Panic. Some, a good number of them, in fact, heard about it. It was basically like, oh, it was a thing that happened, but like didn't really affect me. And like from the sound of it, it affected you, but you got by just fine. But then there are other folks I've heard who like, yeah, their parents like thought this was a straight up like demon game or whatever, and like took their stuff away and like banned it from the house and all that stuff.
Right. I met a kid who told me his parents took all his D&D books, like he had like 10 hardcover books, and they put it in a bucket and squirted it with lighter fluid.
Oh my god!
In front of him in the backyard.
Oh
really,
my
they
god!
couldn't just throw it in the garbage.
They had to
burn it. They had to make a show of like burning these demonic games.
These devil books with their magic spells and portal to hell.
Oh my god! No fun allowed. Seriously.
I never had to endure anything like that.
Okay. I was gonna say, but like, so you never told your grandparents, so like, was there ever a chance of like that potentially happening if they ever found out?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would have like wanted to take my stuff away and ask my mom to punish me in some manner, but I kept everything on the down low. So.
Okay, cool. So the demonic D&D game, yeah, made you lie to your grandparents. All right, cool.
So what kind of games were you playing at that, like, in the beginning there?
Was it first edition, second edition?
It was first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
We did play the set that is known today as Basic D&D, where your class was actually elf or dwarf or fighter, or wizard. And then in AD&D, wizards were called magic users.
AD&D things changed around a little bit. We've spoken to some folks about the AD&D days as well.
And so I also played Marvel Superheroes, which was my first superhero RPG. That was a lot of fun.
Did not know that was a thing.
You never heard of that?
From the 80s?
Yeah.
What was that system like?
It was 10-sided dice based. Use what they call percentile. So you could roll either 0, 1 or 0, 0 to 100. And There was this table on the back of the book, kind of like a bar graph thing, and there were columns, and based on what your power rank was and the difficulty of the task, you could have either a green, yellow, or a red result. And it sounds complicated, like when you're trying to explain the table, but it was a super simple system.
No,
10-sided dice, that's it. And
I was gonna say it doesn't sound too bad.
the higher you roll, the better.
And you guys did you make up your own characters, or did you like pick Captain America, Spider-Man, whatever, and you had certain stats for being that hero?
We did both. Definitely, it's fun when you get to play your favorite heroes. Yeah, I want to be Spider-Man. I want to be Iron Man, whoever. And then after you got that out of your system, like, hey, I want to be my own guy and see what happens with that. And you can either roll your random powers and see what happens, see what you get, or you can pick powers depending on what the game master wants to let you do.
Ah, that system, like the simplicity of the system, sounds like you could run it today. Like all you would need is just the breakdown of the powers, and then I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna make a note right here. I'm gonna look that up after this.
To learn the system.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up because that sounds pretty fun. I might actually run that at the store sometime. But no, that's super cool.
Very they have a new version that's coming out. They just released a new playtest version, and people tested it for a few months, and then they've released another playtest version of that. So maybe next year we might see a new updated book coming out from the company.
Nice. So yeah, you got exposure to RPG, like a whole bunch of RPGs, like really early, because a lot of folks who we've spoken to, D&D was their thing, and like that was their thing, and it was only till years later where they figured out, oh, there's other systems. But now you got in on the ground floor.
I did. And when I got to high school, I joined the Hellfire Club. We didn't call it the Hellfire Club. Ours was called Gamers Guild. And that took it to the next level, because then I met a whole bunch of kids who played all kinds of various role-playing games and board games. And then they told me about this thing called Gen Con, which is a convention for gamers that they hold every year in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yep. Heard of Gen Con, still going on today. And because you brought it up, I forgot to mention it at the top, but I'm actually going to be at, here in South Florida, or North Florida actually, Holiday Matsuri this year. So if you're going to be there, or if you had been there when this comes out, I hope you said hi. And also Otaku Fest next year in Miami. Just plugging that now. Networking, meeting people, getting stories.
You could have saved it for the end.
He reminded me now, and I was gonna forget.
Are you going to do a live podcast from the con?
I'm in talks with one of them to see if we can get a panel on there. We'll see about that. Otherwise, it's just meeting people, and just kind of like the store, but on a bigger front. Just meeting people, playing games, and getting folks to probably come on later on. But
so lots of things happen on my adventures at Gen Con.
I was going to say, what happened at Gen Con?
But have you guys ever heard of Gary Gygax?
Sounds familiar.
Same
name sounds a little familiar. Yeah.
Right. The guy who created Dungeons and Dragons,
and famously hates Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I never heard that.
Yeah, that I forgot what I was watching. I think there's a guy on YouTube who he has this like basically short history of D&D, and Gygax was not necessarily a Lord of the Rings fan. He basically, the game developed out of like war games that him and his friends would play, and then they just took on a fantasy flavor, and once he
that might have been Dave Arneson's influence then.
Yeah,
that was his buddy that helped him do the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of pushed him out and took all the credit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think we talked to Amanda about that
this-
a couple episodes, many episodes ago, Lisa, when she talked about the
Yes.
genesis of D&D. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And poor guy, he got a divorce, and for some reason the court decided to give controlling interest of TSR, that owned Dungeons and Dragons,
Mhm.
to his wife.
Oh wow.
And so he said, okay, well, I'm going to do my own game. I'm going to call it Dangerous Dimensions.
All
I
right.
don't know if you guys ever heard of that.
Never heard of this.
And it was basically another fantasy role-playing game that was like Dungeons and Dragons, and it even had 2 D's in the name, so they could call it D&D as well.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually they got sued, and they made him change it to Dangerous Journeys. But anyway, I believe it was back in '92 when he was pushing Dangerous Dimensions at Gen Con, when it was late in the evening, and on I think either Saturday or Friday night when we were at the con, and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, that's Gary Gygax over there." And I'm like, "That short, tubby, fat guy with the beard? Yeah, that's Gary Gygax." I don't know why, but like when you just think of somebody that's famous, you just like picture them bigger than life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like he's just like he looked like any other gamer, like in jeans and a t-shirt,
Just a dude.
Right, he was just a dude. Right? And I'm like, so I'm like, wow, man, let's go talk to him, let's meet him. And so we go over there, and we're like, Gary, what's up? How's it going? And he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And we just told him like the last game where we were at and stuff like that, and just started chatting him up about like how the new Dangerous Dimensions thing was going, and he talked a lot about the game and so forth. But it was surprising what just like a amicable, normal guy he was.
Oh, okay.
And willing to just talk to anybody who would walk up to him. He didn't think he was something special. Didn't act like it.
Mm.
And I don't know if anybody had a bad experience with him, but he was pretty cool with me and my friends. So that was pretty cool, and something that we could always say, hey, we met Gary Gygax.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, yeah. It's good to know that at least at that stage he didn't seem like he was trying to be better than anybody or anything like that.
And I've seen pictures of him later on. Like there's this famous meme where he's got like the white hair and beard, and he's wearing a t-shirt, and I think he's like holding a dice out in front of him. He did not look like that when I met him. So like when I see that meme, I'm like, whoa, dude.
What happened? Like I think the only image I've ever seen of Gary Gygax is like beginning days, like when he was fairly young. So I couldn't point to him like later in life. But apparently, from what you're saying, like after a certain point, he was just like some other guy. You just pass him on the street.
Right. Yeah. I guess when I met him, it was probably about 15 years after D&D came out.
I was getting ready when you tell us you met him to be like, oh yeah, Gary Gygax told me to fuck off or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, not at all. And then that same night, my friends took me to a bar called the Safe House, and it was my first time getting into a bar, and I did the thing where like, no, I forgot my ID, and they let me in.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, so it was
Love
a fun
to see
time.
it.
So any other Gen Con stories? Like, I don't know how we want to ask. Like, how did your first night of drinking in a bar go?
Oh, really, really good. We definitely had too much to drink.
I was gonna say how much?
The best beer I ever had in my life was at the Safe House. They because they brew beer in Milwaukee. That's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this one brand of beer called Code Beer, CODE, and it was just amazing. And ever since then, I never had a beer as good. And I don't know if maybe that's because that was my first.
That was your first beer. I mean,
but like I've always remembered that beer.
Most people don't remember their first beer very fondly. They're like, yeah, it tastes like piss.
It's true.
And so yeah, we got home late at night, and we had like other friends, that also attended the con, and there were different hotel rooms in different hotels. Um, and So the next morning, there's a phone call, and it's like early, or at least we thought it was early. And my friend, who's in this next bed on the side, he fumbles around and picks up the phone, and the first words out of his mouth is like, "Who the fuck has the balls to call me this early in the morning?" We're like, "What's he doing? That could be his mom for all he knows."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it turns out it was just one of our annoying friends calling us to go to breakfast with them or something like that.
Any other
But
weird?
that was like our bender night partying, and I think we got up around 2:00 that afternoon.
Mm-hmm. You're not the first person. You're definitely not going to be the last person who's spoken about Gen Con. But just like in general, it's a pretty good experience if you want, to play D&D for a couple days straight, or board games, or any like games in general, right? That's what Gen Con's for, right?
Absolutely, and you get to meet, like I told you, I met Gary Gygax. I also met another guy named Kevin Simbita, who is the head of Palladium Games.
Yeah.
And around the time, me and my friends were very much into several games that they run on that line, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Robotech, Heroes Unlimited, and Rifts, which is a combination fantasy sci-fi game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to meet him and all the illustrators, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Eventually, I will go to Gen Con one day. I keep hearing very good things. I just, for whatever reason, every year I just never get a chance to go. It's usually because I'm going to Dragon Con.
And, you get to not just even role-playing games. There are different board games you can play there with people. So
we got to go one year, Lisa. You and me, tag team, Gen Con.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I gotta get you to Dragon Con first, though.
Yeah, that's the one. I didn't even realize it was happening. I just missed LA City Comic Con.
I was gonna say, they just had Comic Con in your city.
Didn't realize it was happening until my friends were posting about it. And I was very busy.
I should have texted you, because I had a friend who was doing a panel there. Could have been like, hey.
I could have probably gotten an industry pass too.
Mm-hmm.
Next year.
Yeah. Okay. So cons, always friendly for games. Usually, if it's that type of con, don't go to don't go to like a sales convention thinking that you're going to get a D&D group. Although I have met a lot of sales people who are actually into D&D. Side note. But yeah, nerd conventions are usually pretty good places if you don't already have like a group, or don't have connections, and you want to make connections for role-playing games. It's usually pretty, I find, pretty good for that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Pretty much most of the games I played for the 3 days I was there were with strangers, and yeah, so it was pretty cool to see different people, and with different ways people play the games, and come across um, lots of interesting types of people.
Mm-hmm. So, you've been around the block. We know you've been around the block. You met the man who started all, apparently. So let's get into that. You as a player. So, like, what's some of your favorite like player stories?
Right. There was a game that TSR put out shortly after Dungeons and Dragons called Star Frontiers, which was their first sci-fi game, and a friend of mine was running that, and the movie Aliens had come out shortly before we were playing. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've seen Aliens.
Game Over Man scene.
Yeah.
Well, he decides that he's going to use some influence from that movie and run us through a scenario where we lost contact with this one outpost, and we want to send a recon team to go check out what happened. And so we do, and of course
What
we
could
run
go
across
wrong?
with some of these aliens, and eventually, after we decide that things are not going well and half the party has already died, that we're just going to leave. Screw it. So to get out, we have to drive down this very narrow tunnel in a jeep, and we have like a horde of like aliens chasing us down the tunnel, and then our game master tells us, oh, there's something blocking the tunnel there. So we stop the car and shine the lights up, and it's like a big webbing of slime and stuff like that. And in the center is one of our companions. It's our friend Johan, and he's all tied up, and we can see his face, and he looks up at us, and he's like, "Help me, help me!" And the horde of aliens are right behind us. So I was like, "Screw it!" And I picked up a missile launcher and shot him.
Yep, that's pretty much in line with the very non-heroic Alien series. Like, Ripley is a hero, yes, but it's like heroes don't get rewarded. It's you gotta be cutthroat.
It's about surviving.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You shot him with a rocket.
We blew him up. And the look on his face, he's like, "Really?"
This is one of the other players.
Yeah, the other player, Johan, his jaw dropped, and he's like, "Really? You're gonna do that?"
Yep.
And
Sorry,
like,
man.
Roll. Yeah, so I roll, direct hit, blew him up. All right, he's like, "Okay, the path is clear." And we're like, "Hit it!" So we rocket out of there, run onto the ship and haul out of there. And so there were like 3 of us out of a party of 6 survived.
The DM didn't have you have an epic confrontation with a queen alien who had stowed away on your ship.
Yeah, supposedly that was going to happen, but we didn't end up not continuing that game after that.
Okay. Okay. Fun.
Yeah,
You
that was
just
funny.
blow up a friend. It happens.
Yeah. And there was another game where we did some time traveling, and we went back to, I think it was 1963 in Dallas. Do you know what happened back then in November?
It sounds familiar.
Was Kennedy shot?
Yeah, that's where Kennedy was.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And so we were trying to prevent Kennedy from getting shot, and it just didn't happen. It turned out that there wasn't just a single shooter.
Oh, there was a second
According to
shooter.
the game master.
A man on a
Wow.
grassy knoll.
Your game master
exactly. It was a
using
grassy
the
knoll.
game to propagate his conspiracy theories. Love to see it. Taking notes, honestly.
But that was a good one.
No, really, using a D&D game to propagate your conspiracy theories is
It's
kind of iconic, actually.
it's
I
not
love that.
Yeah.
it's not the only time I've heard that happen. I've heard that happen
Wait,
in other
what?
I've heard that happen in other games as well.
Pushing your flat Earth theory.
Pushing, the heroic leader who's deposed by the mob. Guess when that story came about.
Yikes! 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 Yikes!
Yeah.
Yikes! Yikes! Yikes!
Mm-hmm.
You mean
So it's-
during the insurrection?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just nothing new.
But that's, as a player, I guess those are the best ones that I can remember.
All right.
As you were playing over the years, when did you start DMing instead of playing? Was that early on, or did you not pick up DMing for a while?
No, yeah, that was definitely later on. I probably didn't start running games until I got to college, and I was I also joined a gaming club at the University of Illinois at Chicago, and then kind of there I was the more experienced player, and so then I had to take up the mantle of running a game, and it was challenging at first, like anything, you have to do it a while before you pick it up, but eventually, I got pretty good at it.
So what was that like now you being the old head in the room and like teaching folks from scratch, this is role playing, this is D&D, like how was that? Because now things are flipped.
It was fun. I enjoyed the other side of the DM screen, as it were, because as dungeon master or game master, you're the god of the game, and anything that you want to happen, any story that you want to tell, you can do it. And
you can do it as long as the players can kind of go along with it and follow with it. Because sometimes the players can turn left and something crazy can happen, or the players can, for whatever reason, not buy into the story or something like that.
Right, and I learned that the hard way. Like, players will take you off on a tangent and derail a campaign. But I also learned pretty quickly how to railroad if I needed to, or sometimes I would have to run a game and I have absolutely nothing to do. Like, I don't have any ideas, and
no notes.
I just make it up on the fly, right? And I'll present like mysteries that I actually don't actually have the solution to or the answer to, and then the players will investigate and do the things that they're like trying to figure out the mystery to, and as they're doing it, I'm like, I just let them think that they discovered the truth. But it's just like, wherever they went, they were going to find it and they were going to succeed. But they didn't know that.
DMing 101, especially on those... Or no, this is more DMing 102. More advanced. Once you've got some games under your belt,
right.
If you're in the situation and you don't know where this is going to go, present them with a mystery, and like once they start to work out something that seems like a solution, guess what? That was the solution all along. You found it.
Right. Some players that not that easy to handle. They like do like deviant things in your game that you don't necessarily want them to do. Because, like, for example, when I first started DMing, a lot of these young guys are like, their hormones are kicking in. As nerds, maybe they don't really have that much experience dating and relationships. And so, for some reason, their characters constantly want to go to brothels. Okay, I find the elf with the largest breasts in the room. Okay. Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this every week?
Yeah, constantly. And so I'm like, I got tired of it after a few games. I'm like, really? You're gonna make me like narrate, what this encounter, So no, I wasn't about to do that, and so I was done with that. So I had to think of creative ways to discourage RPG prostitution. So, are you familiar with a monster in D&D called a succubus?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That one.
So I'm like, this is like this, voluptuous female. They're a brunette, and she's just like giving you the eye from across the room. And when my friend got excited, he's like, "Oh yeah, really?" I'm like, yeah. And so I'm like, all right. So after a little bit of like so-called seduction on his part, she takes him back to the room, and I'm like, okay, are you going to take off your armor, your protections and stuff like that, get in bed? He's like, yeah.
Your weapons are like 10 feet away.
Right. Everything's packed away. All right.
Roll for initiative.
And so after that, they were wary to like, okay, I detect evil and stuff like that.
Detect evil on everything.
Right, so I had to get creative again. I'm like, okay. After the deed, it was like, okay, make a con save for what disease you might be getting.
Oh no.
Okay, you got like some kind of like flesh-eating bacteria in the other regions.
You got clapped.
Oh my god. Did the RPG whoring around eventually stop?
It did. It brought it to a halt, a screeching halt.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So those are the things you have to learn as a dungeon master to navigate.
No, when we talk about cat wrangling, that's honestly such a part of it.
That's a great segue to the other story I was going to bring up, where this guy. This was like the most disturbing episode I had with like role playing with anybody. This guy we never played with before. He came to the club at the university, and like he just whenever we would have a moment, he and there was like some creature around. He wanted to torture animals. Like, okay, I'm gonna take this cat and I'm gonna hold it down and I'm gonna take a dagger and I won't describe all the other stuff he said he wanted to do. And I'm
Bruh.
like, okay, why are you doing this? I'm thinking like, what is he gonna like cast a spell and like do something with the blood or nothing? And like, no, I just want to rip him up and like take out his bones and stuff like that. What?
Okay.
Like, no.
Whoa, I gotta make a phone call, bud. I gotta make a phone call.
Why do you want to do this? And he's just like, yeah, I just don't want to. It's fun. I'm like, no.
It's just I want to. It's fun.
Yeah, it's what my character would do.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Like,
the most
because I'm evil. I'm evil, so that's what I do.
The most extreme, disgusting version of that I've ever heard.
Yeah, so, and I didn't even describe like the kinds of things he wanted to do.
Please don't.
So I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you can't do any of that. And he got upset. I'm like, well, I'm sorry.
Time to go.
Yeah, you gotta go. And he left. Never saw him again.
Yeah, this may not be the table.
This may not be the humanity for you.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I've heard some horror stories of folks bringing their IRL issues to the table, and usually, that's around like interactions with women or stuff like that. And all that's bad, but just like graphically detailing you torturing animals just cause that's like serial killer stuff.
No, it literally is.
Oh my god.
Well, New School Gamers, they started doing something that I was introduced to when I was during the pandemic role-playing online, which was called a Session Zero.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with that. It's
yes.
Like, hey,
we advocate for the Session Zero greatly.
We are absolutely priests of the Session Zero Church. We're absolutely preaching that.
I've been converted as well. It's like, okay, not only are we going to make characters, but we're going to outline what's acceptable and unacceptable while we play.
Yeah.
All right, none of this.
Animal torture, unacceptable.
Right.
If you got a problem,
off the table.
Yeah, you got to go. Oh
but
man.
Also, in the new age that we're in, there's kind of like the woke side of D&D. Where like, okay, what are your pronouns? Everybody, you gotta like know what their pronoun is. That they, not only that, what your character's pronouns are too. On top of that,
because sometimes you don't necessarily want to, play to reality. If I could be a dragon, why can't I also be a man?
You could be a dude. I've played a girl.
Non-binary dragon. I wish to be, addressed as they them. So
yeah, because
okay, whatever
Yeah.
Whatever people need to establish in the Session Zero, so you're comfortable and you're happy. That's fine.
That is something where it's like, I think that part of the reason that D&D has had the sort of explosion is that like people have the language and the tools are more easily accessible to be able to like not just play but find people who you can play with where like everybody agrees on like the things that make you comfortable in a group, because you are like opening yourself up to possibly having to interface with things that you're not necessarily comfortable with, which, there's degrees to that. There's like being put into like a situation that's like a horror scenario or whatever, but if it's like something discussed ahead of time, you already kind of can prepare yourself, and it's safety rails. It's it's bumpers so that like people can have fun with it. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Like one of the ones that make the most sense to me is the no rape scenarios. Or
Yeah.
No rape reenactments.
and it's crazy
Nobody
that
wants to
has to
roleplay
be
something
like
that.
Yeah, that has to be articulated.
Yeah. But you know, every now and then you run into that guy or girl.
yeah.
That
who is just like
DM who wants to push
Yeah.
their stuff into the game.
right.
Yeah. Or, is just trying to be edgy and, like, provocative by provoking bad feelings.
Well, thinking edginess is a replacement for, like, depth of story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another conversion I've had to do from an old school gamer to the new school gamer actually occurred like I guess like probably 2 months ago now when I first started playing at Flynn's. Because up until then, I've actually because of the pandemic and everything, haven't been playing across the table in person. I've been doing everything online. And so I find out about the game because my nephews go to the Smash Brothers tournaments at Flynn's, and they're like, "Yeah, there's a D&D night on Wednesdays." And my wife is like, "You're a D&D guy, you should go." I'm like, "Really? You think I should go? Okay." So yeah, I'll check it out. And so, I get my books, I do my character sheet and everything like that, and I show up, and everybody else is like on tablets and phones.
Everyone's on their phones.
High tech laptops, and there I am with my pen and paper.
not gonna shit on the pen and paper, because there are things you can do with pen and paper that you can't do on an app, because you have the freedom to write, and there's some interesting ideas I want to talk to with a guest that we have lined up that specifically, like, you can't do it on an app. But yes, it's 2022, so I can absolutely point out that if you're a player who got in after a certain year, probably like after 2015, 2016, they probably don't know how to create their character sheet by hand. It's
guilty.
It's all been done for them.
Oh yeah, I love to be spoon fed.
I love the tech because it does all the math for you.
That is absolutely the plus side of it.
And why wouldn't you want something that makes it easier for more people to not only want to play the game but to be able to play the game? It makes it so much easier to I have friends who I've been trying to get to play, and the only thing that is helping my cause is the fact that D&D Beyond makes it that much easier, where they don't have to do that much more, as much work as they would have to do.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to do a lot of work, but it's still not as much work. Yeah, shout out to the online
having a
things.
Character sheet that does all the math for you, that can do all the rolls and calculations for you, that is infinitely scalable, that can hold as many items or feats or whatever you have without, becoming a jumbled mess.
And you won't lose it. You won't forget which notebook.
Exactly, you won't forget it.
Right. I'm looking this big backpack, and I got all the books and everything, or you could just take a tablet.
You could use your phone. Whenever I go over to Flynn's, I bring my phone and maybe some dice, and that's it.
Right. And it's got every book in it, and you can look up any spell or equipment or whatever.
I have all the books literally right there on your phone.
Yeah.
Officially.
Really cool. Just don't let your battery die.
Yeah.
That is the one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna rely on that, have a charger.
Yeah, have a charger ready. That was gonna be the last big thing that I brought up before we kind of close out and you give your advice. But you've been there since the beginning, and you've been alluding to it now. The game has changed over the years. So from your perspective, what's your opinion or what's your experience with the change in perception of the game from the 80s being a game, Satanic, then just being a super nerdy thing to being the thing now? Everyone does D&D today.
It was funny. Back in the day when I was doing it, it started out where don't be weird. You're in satanic, demonic games. And then after a while, it was just like, oh, you're a nerd? You play those nerd games? It was just like the nerd stigma. Like, I honestly, I kind of still, deal with it. Like, my wife was telling one of my friends, I was out playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, no, remember, it's bowling night. You're supposed to be bowling night.
Yeah, somehow D&D really does beat bowling for dorkiness.
But then, like, there are certain groups who, like, got into it and they, like, watched Critical Role or Dimension 20 and everything, and, like...
You say certain groups, just say cool teens.
The cool kids, apparently.
The cool teens. Cool teens are into it now, and therefore it's cool.
Yeah.
And now we have Chris Pine in a movie.
Yeah.
The Bohemian kids that were in drama club, they like get into the interaction.
Pointing to Lisa.
Just, wow, you really read me directly.
Is that the
wow.
you came out of?
I am a theater kid, died in the wall, kid.
The neon sign pointing to Lisa.
Theater kid, theater kid, theater kid, theater kid.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I had a group of friends that they were an improv comedy group, and now 2 of them are in my Roll20 campaign I play every Saturday night.
Well,
so.
Awesome. At least I never did improv, so there's that. I'm actually awful at improv, ironically.
Well, you just
I could attest to that.
Improv workshops, and you develop the skills.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me. I have a lot of free time right now.
I was gonna say, like, I think improv is one of those things that can actually help you in a lot of arenas, like public speaking, thinking on your feet, and then like D&D, your character, something crazy happens to your character. Do you just say like no, or like do you figure out a way to go with it?
No, you yes and. I know that one.
That's literally first day improv. It's not the end of it, but yeah. All right. But yeah, so like, Matt, your perception of like, the game in general, especially like, have you taken a look at any of the 1 D&D stuff that they're playtesting for the proposed new version in a couple years?
I've seen people's comments about it, but I haven't actually took a look at it myself.
Any opinion?
As far as my perception of what D&D itself has become, compared to like what it used to be, I compare to old school D&D is like Lord of the Rings, and new school D&D is like Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia. Because back then, like the old school, you're just like a human halfling, elf, dwarf, and that's pretty much it, right? Half orc. And new school, it's like, is there anything you want to be? You want to be a raccoon, or an elephant dude, And so, like, no lie, I was in a party with like an elephant guy, a lion guy, a raccoon guy. I'm like, this is not D&D anymore.
No, that's
it's Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, that's the Lost Madagascar sequel.
Exactly.
It's
So lots of times it does have a different feel than the games used to be like. But at the core, it's still D&D. It's still fun.
All right.
It's still nerds arguing about math.
Yeah, I think a lot of the trappings have changed, but I think that old school, just everyone wants to go on an adventure thing is still there.
Mechanics wise, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Old school, you were dying every other game.
Yeah.
Now
it was
like
brutal.
It's a rare thing for a character to die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what man has been doing from day one with Shadows on a Wall, is getting together with their friends and telling a funky little story.
Yeah.
And being like, the thing I killed was this big, and oh, you want me to tell you exactly how I killed it? Well, yeah, I like jumped on it, and then I like stabbed it, and then it like flipped me over, and I was like, and then I stabbed it again, and then it died. And that's how I won.
And that's one of the best things I like about role-playing and the role-playing groups is like, when you get together with those friends and you talk about memories of like these things that happen, only they didn't really happen in real life. They happened in some game you played.
Yes.
Like, you act like, yeah, that's what like this stuff happened to me.
That's exactly what this show is,
Oh my
Matt.
God, yes.
You found it.
That's the thesis of the show. That's the thing we love, is that, like...
You found your buddy Johan, who was tied up in a web, and you blew him up with a bazooka, of course.
Exactly.
And then the person you're talking to goes, "Who's Johan?" And you're just like, "He's the little guy we invented to be upset about."
All right. So, yeah, last thing we always touch on at the end of any of these sessions and conversations.
It's, what do you know now as a player and a DM who's, played all these different games and the different editions and everything? Like, what's, like, the piece of advice that you know now that you would give yourself back when you first started playing, or to somebody who's about to start playing?
From the player, one thing I see a lot from is just like, and this is even with like some people who've been playing for a while, is they kind of just sit there and just react to stuff. And so I tell people, to get the most out of the game, you've got to, you just see some guy who's sweeping the floor in the bar, like, don't just talk to the bartender or the guy with the, who's brooding in the corner and sitting in the shadows. No, like, talk to that guy who's over there sleeping with the broom, and strike up a conversation. Like, get creative and look for unique things to do. Don't react to the game. Make the things happen in the game. Make the DM react to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll take on a whole new life.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And also when you're confronted with a challenge, there's more to do just to pull out a sword or cast a spell. Ask the person running the game about the environment and different things about it, and try. Every opportunity you have to look at your skills and what you can do. Outside of your supernatural abilities, but it's your regular abilities, and try to come up with creative solutions, and that'll just magnify your experience, and you'll feel a lot more involved, and everybody in the group, including the person running the game, will appreciate it.
Speaking from, and I think you too, Lisa, in those situations where like an issue is presented to the group, and the easy solution is, we attack it, but you could always go that way. But when the players take that minute to come up with something you didn't think of, something outside of the norm, I think maybe all three of us would agree, like, that's some of the best stuff, when the players present you with like a weird alternative solution to this thing that you didn't think of, and you're like, hey, that might work, let's do that.
As a game master, I love it when the players impress me with something out of the box. Those moments, I cherish. And whenever it happens, I have just a homebrew thing I do as a game master, where I give them something called a freebie token. And so basically that means it's like, okay, you can, anytime you want to play a game, you get a redo. If the die roll doesn't work out for you, you say, okay, I'm going to use my freebie token, and I'll let them have another go at it if it didn't work out. And like little I guess role-playing rewards for, like, you do something that contributes to the game in a significant way. I like to reward that because it gives incentive for people to keep doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think you and I don't harp on enough of reinforce and reward the behavior that you want players to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Not just...
I think we just don't do that because I feel like when you phrase it that way, it sounds like the same way that people talk about training their dogs. You have to reinforce good behaviors.
I mean, treats. I guess but to also, some extent it could be.
But like, the thing is that is accurate and that is true. It is, I feel like there's a lot of places in life where that's true, where you reinforce behaviors that you want, and because positive reinforcement is, usually has better responses than, just punishing people for doing the things that you don't want them to do.
And it's also like, all right, it's not just that you got experience points and you went up a level and now you have these new powers, but you're getting other benefits that are connected to the game but outside of the character itself.
Yeah, they're having more actual impact on the world. They show that they can they can make things happen if they think critically.
Yeah. And to your the first thing you said, where for players that it's good to not just react to the world but to act upon the world and give the DM something to react to. That's I feel like that really flows nicely with like I often when I'm like trying to explain to people the game, I usually describe the GM as the person who plays the rest of the world reacting to whatever choices you, the players, make. Like, yes. That is the role of the GM, is to react.
You feel free to do what you want to do, and don't. Lots of new players will ask me, "Oh, can I do this? Is this something I'm able to do?" I'm like, "Well, just tell me."
Is that what you want to do?
Is that what you want to do?
Is that what you want to do? Then say that's what you want to do, and we'll see how the world reacts to it.
We'll see how that works out.
We press the button, and we're going to find out what happens. Yeah. The real name of the game is Actions and Consequences.
Yes. And sometimes I'll go, just to have fun with people, I'll go, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Oh, a classic.
That's the classic, that's the classic DM response. Are you sure you want to do that?
It always feels good. It's like you can't help but just go tee-hee at the end of that.
Even me, when I get a chance to be a player, I'll do like crazy stuff because I'll be kind of chaotic because I very rarely get to be on that side of the DM screen. So I'll I'm gonna be proactive. I'm gonna do some crazy stuff. And even at that point, for as long as I've played, if a DM tells me, "Are you sure you want to do that?" That
just guarantees
to me
guarantees that you're gonna just do whatever.
No, to me that gives me pause. I'm like, do I want to do that?
Oh, I guess it's just me then. Whenever I get asked,
I still might do it.
Sure? Whenever I get asked, "Are you sure you want to do that?" That's just like, oh, now I definitely want to do it.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but that phrase is always the one to like give me some pause of like, am I about to die? Is something about to happen?
Oh man,
lose
no.
A little bit of my breath in my throat. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
No, I love I'm gonna just look through the window, or I'm gonna touch this book. Can I open this book? Roll blank. Roll anything. I'm just like, shit.
Make a save.
Make a save. Shit. No. Ever since I learned to let go of my characters when I play.
Don't be so precious with your characters.
Yeah, of not being so precious. I kind of play like I have a death wish.
I want to play with. I'm gonna play with modern you, Lisa.
I just walk into a room, just not a perception check in sight.
Yeah, I'll do that too. There's a lot of times where it's just like, yep, I rock up, I open the door, yell, what's going on, dog?
You touch the door handle? You're like, I opened the door.
How else am I opening that door? Yeah.
That shows that your experienced gamer, though, that you ascended to the level where, you're not going to take it personal if your character dies.
Yeah. That's the name of the game.
You have to train newbies at. And, you realize, hey, it's just a game. It's just a thing. It's a piece of paper. It happens. It's part of the game. Just like in a video game. You know how characters sometimes die in a video game. It's just like this,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like especially in, I think, well, I don't know how much I can speak to this, but what it feels like is especially in the current generation of, as you said, bohemian drama kids who get attached to the characters because they're not just playthings, but they create them as people in their own minds.
Mm-hmm.
They get so much more attached they make it so much more personal. And so yeah, like they do. I say they. I know that.
You.
This ain't me. This
You
is
have
me.
done this.
I was very skittish to like take risks because I was very emotionally attached to my characters. I am still emotionally attached to my characters. I still love them dearly, but like now I'm just like,
Of course.
yeah, this character dies in this campaign. I'll bring a different character in because I have other characters I really enjoy playing, and then I can still play this character in another campaign. Nobody ever has to know.
Right. And of course, like, you know, you're attached to your character and you like it, and you're like sad if they die. But, you know, there's also a level of maturity that you come into, and you're like, yeah, it's just a game, dude. Get over it.
Also, I am at a point where, like, I have a backlog of characters that I never get to play, where I'm like, please let one of my player characters die. I wanna play my other warlock. Austin!
Your other warlock.
Listen, you accuse me of having a lot of tieflings. You accuse me
I
of
didn't
having
say
a lot
tiefling.
of warlocks. No. I'm talking in general. You accuse me of having a bunch of tieflings. You accuse me of having a lot of warlocks. I only have 2 tieflings. I only have 2 warlocks. The thing I have the most of is white-haired mages. I have like 6 characters who are white-haired mages. I like keep catching myself.
Honestly, at the stage I'm at with character creation, I do not think about how the character looks. I build the character, and if I ever get to play them, I'm like, they look like this and this and this. Let's go. I do not give a crap about the aesthetics. I'm more into like, does this mechanically seem cool? Does this kind of story I'm working with work? And then I'll make it jive with whatever's going on in the game once we get there.
Hi, we're built different.
I know.
Yeah, no, me too. Like, I'm also just like an artist by hobby, and so yeah, definitely the look and aesthetic of what the character's gonna be like. Yeah, that's central.
Yeah, no, that's how I like
theater
kids.
That's
That's how I initiate my characters. Like, I knew like my other warlock that I'm talking about. Like, I wanted to make essentially if you're familiar with the anime revolutionary girl Utena. Yeah, I only ever read the word. Leave me alone.
Fake anime fan.
But yes, absolutely. But I really wanted like that image of like the female prince, like the Prince Charming, but a lady.
How pink is she?
A horse girl. She's a horse girl. She's a warlock celestial patron. The patron is a unicorn. Her sword, she summons it with a spectral horn that appears on her forehead. The aesthetics are important. I started from there, and then I was like, all right, what are the mechanics that support this aesthetic?
Wow.
Okay.
I knew I wanted lady with sword, and then I worked from there.
You didn't want to do like Utena, like make her a knight or something. No, warlock.
Yeah, she makes a pact with a unicorn where she promises the unicorn that she's going to defend maidens. Like, what's confusing about this?
I like it.
Nothing is wrong, Lisa.
It makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
I don't understand why you're laughing.
I have a good villain in mind for your character.
Oh?
Yes.
Like some evil wizard who, as his wand, uses the horn taken off a unicorn descendant of your warlock, and it's time for revenge.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
He's disgraced your ancestor, and he's kidnapped a princess.
Yeah, no, I gotta save at least one princess from a tower at some point.
All
Drew,
right.
I think you've DM'd a game with that character. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure I have, yeah.
That was that dragon one shot.
Yeah. Well, I want to do one where you actually get to play out your story a bit more. That was just me literally just like throwing you guys into a dungeon and seeing if you die or not.
Yeah, and literally it's the closest I come to playing a martial character.
A blade warlock.
Lisa, if you ever come down to Flynn's with Varun, I would love to be in that game.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Have the
I
character
will
ready.
be in town for the end of the year. I think like we were planning. We'll make plans. We'll
Yeah, end
We'll
of the
talk.
year and a little bit at the beginning of next year.
yeah.
Sounds good.
So yeah, she's gonna be by at least once.
Yeah. I think with that, that's a great place to go. Hey, we're all going home now. Sun's getting real low. I don't know. Well, I think we've learned a lot today. And I know you have like a billion more stories that you'd probably be able to share with us.
Oh yeah, I haven't even gotten to the Vampire the Masquerade live action.
Oh my
opening
god.
yet.
You know what? We're gonna do a part 2 because we're already at like an hour and a
90
half.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's do a part 2 where we just talk about Vampire. We'll come back.
Yeah, maybe we will have actually played Vampire at that point. And
Yeah.
we could give some more
Actually
input.
understand some of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. But yeah, so get us on all our socials. We're Oops All Dragons at everything. Get us on the Patreon, as Lisa said. Matt, is there anything you would like to plug?
No, I just have the basic social medias, but I don't need any fandom. Thank you.
You know what? That's the sign of a
A
healthy
normal
mind,
person?
a healthy
A normal
mind,
person.
not needing a lot of adoration.
Just a normal person. Congratulations. What's that like? Oh, man. Well, Matt, thank you. And we're going to have you back
Thanks for
on
coming
another
on, yeah.
time to talk about Vampire. In the meantime, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Goodbye!
Bye, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Oops All Dragons is a group effort. Our show is edited by Noel Hernandez, our theme was composed by Brendan Lyons, and our logo art is by Azif On Q. Links to more of their work and their social media will be in the show notes. Find us on YouTube and Spotify, and check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Oops All Dragons.